It was a regular Saturday afternoon at the Willow Creek Mall when everything changed for Melissa. She had taken her 7-year-old daughter, Sophie, out for frozen yogurt and a little back-to-school shopping. They laughed, shared a strawberry, swirled and browsed through a few stores like any other mother and daughter would. But when Sophie asked to use the restroom just a few steps away, Melissa waited outside the door like she always did, never imagining those few minutes would turn into years of silence. Sophie never walked out. No sound, no struggle, just a quiet restroom stall and a life that suddenly unraveled. The police were called. Security footage showed Sophie walking in but never coming back out. Despite endless searches, media coverage, and a desperate plea to the public, there were no leads, no suspects, and no answers. Melissa's world was shattered, her every day marked by a cold ache of not knowing. The days turned into weeks, the weeks into years. Still, she clung to a mother's hope. 4 years later, Melissa tried to rebuild her life, though the weight of the mystery never left her. One quiet morning, she walked alone on a beach miles away from where it all began. The sea breeze was gentle, and for the first time in a while, she felt something close to peace. But as she glanced down the shoreline, her steps came to a halt. There, standing at the edge of the water, was a girl. And Melissa's heart nearly stopped. Melissa's breath caught in her throat as she squinted toward the water. The girl stood barefoot in the sand, hair tousled by the breeze, wearing a light blue sundress that fluttered gently in the wind. She looked about 11, with a posture and shape that stirred something deep in Melissa's memory. But it wasn't just her appearance, it was the way she tilted her head, the way she clutched a small seashell in her fingers, just like Sophie used to when she was nervous. Melissa took a hesitant step forward, heart pounding. Could it really be her daughter? After all these years, every logical part of her said it was impossible, yet something in her gut, a mother's instinct, refused to dismiss it. She remembered the countless nights she had sat by Sophie's empty bed, whispering prayers into the silence. She had imagined this moment 100 times. But now that it might actually be happening, she felt frozen. She glanced around. The beach was quiet, only a few people in the distance. No one seemed to be with the girl. As Melissa got a little closer, the girl looked up briefly, then quickly turned away. Her face had changed from the last memory Melissa held, but the eyes, they were strikingly familiar. A storm of thoughts swirled in Melissa's mind. If it was Sophie, where had she been? Who had taken her? And why now, in this quiet beach town, had she suddenly appeared as if out of nowhere? Melissa's legs moved before her mind could catch up. She walked faster now, closing the distance, each step pounding against the sand like her heartbeat. The girl turned slightly, glanced again, and this time her expression shifted: fear, confusion, or maybe recognition. Melissa called out gently, "Sophie." The girl froze, but didn't answer. That one word seemed to echo between them. Melissa stopped a few feet away, not wanting to scare her. Suddenly, a woman appeared from behind the nearby dunes, wearing dark sunglasses and holding a woven beach bag. She moved swiftly and placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. The girl looked down immediately. Melissa's stomach twisted. She stepped forward. "Excuse me, I think I know her," she said, voice trembling but steady. The woman forced a smile. "I'm sorry, you must be mistaken. This is my niece, Lila." Her tone was calm, but her grip on the girl's shoulder said otherwise. Melissa didn't move. She studied the woman's face, trying to place her. Something felt familiar, like a memory just out of reach. The woman began leading the girl away without another word. The girl glanced back, once her eyes wide, lips pressed tight, and in that look, Melissa felt it again. That was Sophie. She was sure of it. Melissa followed from a distance, pulling out her phone, snapping a photo. Her fingers shook as she dialed the detective who had worked Sophie's case years ago. She knew now something deeper was going on. And she had just found the first thread. Melissa trailed them from a safe distance, her eyes fixed on the woman and the girl as they walked along the boardwalk and disappeared into a small parking lot tucked behind a cluster of beach shops. Her fingers gripped the phone tightly as she relayed every detail to Detective Harris, the name she hadn't spoken in years but had memorized like a lifeline. "I'm not asking for a miracle," she whispered. "Just look at the photo, please." From behind a row of benches, Melissa watched as the woman unlocked a faded blue SUV and hurried the girl into the back seat. The way the girl hesitated before climbing in, the way she glanced at Melissa one last time, made her heart nearly stop. Melissa snapped another photo just as the vehicle pulled out. She managed to catch part of the license plate, but the sun's glare washed out the last two digits. She ran to her own car, fumbled the keys, and followed at a cautious distance, never letting them out of sight. The SUV didn't head to a residential area or any public place. Instead, it drove into a quiet, wooded area just outside town. Old road that led to a row of forgotten beach cottages, some half-collapsed, others completely overgrown. Melissa parked 2 cars behind, heart pounding. Why would they come out here? As she stepped quietly from her vehicle, the wind rustled through the trees, and distant waves crashed faintly in the background. She didn't know what she'd find, but she was done running from the unknown. Melissa crept through the trees, her footsteps nearly silent on the dirt path. The SUV was parked in front of an old cottage with boarded-up windows and peeling white paint. It didn't look lived in, but as Melissa got closer, she could hear faint voices coming from inside, one calm and controlling, the other soft and nervous. She pressed herself against the side of the building and listened, trying to make out the words. That's when she heard it. The girl's voice, barely a whisper. "Please, I just want to call her." Melissa's breath hitched. Her daughter, she was sure now. But before she could move, she heard another sound, a second car pulling up the gravel road behind her. She turned just in time to see a sleek black sedan stop near the trees. A man stepped out, dressed too neatly for the setting, holding a folder under one arm. He looked around cautiously, then walked straight toward the cottage's side door. Melissa ducked low, heart racing. Who was he? A friend of the woman. Another piece of a much bigger puzzle. She snapped a quick photo from behind a bush, but her hand trembled too much to get a clear shot. Suddenly, the front door creaked open, and the woman stepped out to greet the man. "You're early," she said sharply. She's starting to remember. The man glanced over his shoulder, uneasy. "Then, we don't have much time." Melissa's blood ran cold. Whatever was happening inside that cottage heat wasn't over. It was just beginning. Melissa's hands trembled as she dialed Detective Harris again, whispering their location with as much detail as she could manage. "They're here. Sophie is here. And someone else just arrived. Please hurry." She ended the call and crept toward the back window of the cottage, peeking through a small crack in the boards. Inside, the girl sat on a worn-out couch, her hands clenched, her eyes darting nervously. The man stood near her, flipping through a folder while the woman paced, clearly agitated. Then, something unexpected happened. Sophie looked directly toward the window. Not just at it, but as if she sensed someone watching. Melissa pulled back instantly, her heart in her throat. Moments later, the back door swung open with a slam. It was the woman, eyes scanning the woods. Melissa ducked just in time, hiding behind a broken fence post. Sirens pierced the quiet just as the woman shouted something inside. Tires skidded on gravel. Red and blue lights flashed through the trees. The man bolted from the cottage's side door, only to be tackled by an officer seconds later. The woman tried to run too, but didn't get far. Melissa burst from her hiding spot and sprinted to the front steps. Sophie stood frozen in the doorway, tears in her eyes. "Mom," she whispered. Melissa grabbed her in a trembling embrace, holding her close, sobbing. But just before the screen door swung shut, Melissa spotted a second girl. Hiding behind the couch, one who looked just like Sophie, Melissa gently stepped into the cottage. Still holding Sophie's hand as tightly as she had the day she vanished. The second girl peeked out from behind the couch, eyes wide with confusion and fear. She looked almost identical to Sophie, same age, same pale hair, same deep-set eyes, but there was something different in her expression, like she didn't fully understand what was happening. An officer stepped in, his voice low and steady, asking Melissa and Sophie to step outside while they secured the house and spoke to the other girl. Hours passed as investigators swarmed the area. Melissa learned that the woman had been using fake identities for years, moving from place to place, and that the man was part of a larger underground network connected to child trafficking. The second girl had likely been taken as well, but her identity was still a mystery. DNA tests would come in time. For now, she was safe. Back at the station, Sophie clung to her mother, refusing to let go. She had remembered little pieces over the years: a song, a beach, a face, but no one had believed her. Melissa, though broken by time, had never stopped searching. And now, after 4 years of darkness, she had her daughter back.